Cheers and welcome to There's Still a Chance podcast. Talking Giants. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by John Boy Media. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. Giants lost 27-13 to the Ravens. We're going to talk all about that. But it's crazy that we are coming to you in going into week 17 off of 3 straight losses with 5 wins, and we still could very well win this division. It's crazy. But we're going to focus on the Ravens, and then we'll talk about big picture stuff towards the end of the podcast. Justin, how are you feeling, man? Obviously we lost. This sucks. It was a better team, but how are you feeling right now?
Well, at 4:30 today, I was like, all right, ready to end the year. Whatever happens at 4 o'clock happens. If Washington wins, if Philly wins. Philly looked good, by the way. Philly even had the momentum, I feel, heading into this game. I know Dallas is on a little winning streak themselves, but Jalen Hurts looked really good and then kind of looked like a rookie in the second half. But I was ready. I was ready to be like, all right, cool. Let's start talking about Gettleman. Let's start talking about the draft. And Bobby and I, we have been reflecting on how we're going to get the same question for 3 months. Who do we take in the first round? Do we need a quarterback? And what does the future of general manager look like? At least we were going to get that for the next few weeks. But we're here. The Eagles lost. Cowboys won. And we will have meaningful January football in 2021.
It's nuts. It's nuts. It is nuts that we are going to be playing the weeks. We were, like you said, we were like, it's like, obviously we want to win. It's like, man, I would like to just have some closure going to this week. But now that it's like, okay, those teams lost. Now it's like, oh, I'm actually excited. Let's talk about this game, though, Justin. The Giants got worked. The Ravens did whatever they wanted on offense for the first 3 quarters of the game. The Giants offense wasn't scoring. They didn't get their first points to the third drive of the game, which I actually want to talk about, like, why, what stalled out the Giants. Daniel Jones was back. I actually thought he looked pretty good. I liked what Jason Garrett did today, which is even more surprising than anything probably that happened today. Where do you want to start? Do you want to just we start with the offense. Let's start with the offense, Justin, right?
We get the criticism for being anti-Garrett people. He deserves it, but for the people that don't like how we're so anti-Garrett, and that's all that we talk about, according to some people, let's talk about actually why we think he had a good game plan, because really that was, if there's a positive to take out of this game, it's that, and then the rest, pretty much everything else is negative. So go ahead.
Well, I'm still on fire Jason Garrett mode. Like this, it doesn't change. It doesn't move the needle for that,
right,
for me at all. But I thought this was the 3rd and a half good game he called. I give Steelers a half a game because at the time I was like, I liked it, but looking back, it's like, oh, that was just indicative of who we are. The Ravens blitzed like crazy. They played a lot of man coverage, and we attacked the ball downfield. And I get, we only had 13 points, but like, let's go through it drive by drive and see what happened. It was on the players today. It wasn't on Jason Garrett. The first drive, now he did run the sticks play on the first pass, and I was like, oh my God, are we really doing this? But they have a 3rd and 7, and they get 2 false starts, 3rd and 17. So you're obviously punting there. The next drive, the first pass is that Shep play where Jones just throws it to nobody when Shep should have kept it going and curled, and then but they end up getting to a 3rd down. Mac drops the ball, and the offense looked like, okay, like they're getting some stuff done. The 3rd drive was the field goal. They should have. Me and you both believe they should have went on 4th down, but nonetheless, they got down there. On 3rd down, they had a look they want. The play they ran was good. They just didn't get any separation. The 4th drive of the game was and then that's halftime. 4th drive of the game, sack first play, 15-yard pass, 3rd and 3. Then you have that Evan Ingram one-on-one on the outside. He gets no separation. Jones doesn't put the ball on him. That's on the players right there. 5th drive of the game, they end up scoring a field goal, 13 plays, 66 yards. That's probably where the play where we all will criticize Garrett is that first down screen play where you lose for 5 yards. That sucked. But I'm not gonna say I hated his game plan because of one game or one play. And then the 6th drive of the game, they scored a touchdown. Then it was basically the end of the game. So this offense just isn't a good offense. And when people have talked about the players being like, well, what does Garrett have to work with? It's like, yeah, but that's not an excuse to not attack, not take chances. And what Garrett did this game is he took chances. I mean, we'll talk about individual stats. Jones pushed the ball downfield, and it wasn't just throwing the ball, chucking the ball deep. It was moving. It was keeping stuff open underneath. We'll talk about his underneath all numbers. Um, it's the players let Jason Garrett down this game. The players let Jason Garrett down this game on offense. And I also want to mention that this Ravens defense is really freaking good. Really good. Like they are top of the league in coverage. They blitz like crazy. And the O-line, their mistakes weren't just like those were mental. You can't put that on Jason Garrett. So I thought the game was called well. The Ravens are just a much better team, and we weren't able to convert the deep shots that we had.
Yeah, it's tough when you blink and you're down 14-0. It kind of felt like it was a 2019 game. Kind of felt like this was a 2019 game where
Yes.
we did blink, and we were down a couple scores early on. And that's credit to the Ravens offense for having really good time possession, running the ball, controlling the clock, all the things that Giants fans want the Giants to do, but we're just not good enough to do. The Ravens did today. So definitely on the players, player execution. Just, this was a game where fans like to talk about wide receiver separation. Fans like to talk about, whether it's Jones's. I thought Jones did miss some guys deep today. Maybe we can go back and we can look. I thought he could have had a little bit more. He could have had a little bit more of an accurate day. And the CPOE, the completion percentage over expected numbers, back that up. He had like a -6 CPOE, which is not good. Not good. I can usually live with like a -2 CPOE, or if you're around the zeros, that's fine. But if you're living in the -6 CPOE range, that's not very good. Tough. But I did like Jason Garrett's game plan today, because what it did is, even when Jones was throwing underneath, I felt like our intermediate yards after the catch numbers were consistent today. Guys were consistently getting yards after the catch, even when we were throwing the ball behind the sticks. And that's what you want. That's what you want. You don't want guys to just, catch the ball and get tackled.
It was similar to the Tampa game plan. The difference this game was it seemed like the wide receivers kind of let him down, where Tampa, the quarterback, Daniel Jones, let them down.
Yeah.
And the fact they just had better players. But like you mentioned, the deep shots, there's 2 to Slayton. One, it's right in Slayton's hands, but it was really good coverage. The other one, Slayton just dropped over the shoulder. The other one was the Shepard one where he curled and went deep. They have an Ingram one to the sideline we talked about. And what was
there was a Sterling Shepard. I think on the first drive of the game, there was a Sterling Shepard one on the right sideline, I think.
I can't remember that one. So they just, but at the same time, well, it's like, okay, did we convert our deep shots? No, it opened up stuff underneath. I mean,
correct.
Let's go through numbers. On those deep ones, Jones 20+ yards, Jones 0 for 5. In the 10 to 20 range, 7 for 10. Less than 10 yards, 17 for 25. So even though the deep stuff wasn't there, it opened stuff underneath. The fact is that the Ravens are a better team, and their offense blew the doors off of our defense, and we are playing from behind. And when you're playing from behind, you have to be perfect. The Giants were not perfect.
Yeah. And they're just not an offensive unit that's, frankly, I don't even know if they're an offensive unit that's built to play with the lead. I guess they are. I guess, because then you're just talking about bringing out 13 personnel and trying to get at least 2 first downs to take enough clock off. But they're not an offensive team that can function in any kind of way where if you're asking them to put a lot of points on the board, they're not going to do it. Then they can't function offensively that way. And it's a shame, because it's 2020 and this is an offensive league and they can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
nothing new. Nothing new.
It's frustrating. I mean, offensively. So, what are your thoughts on Jones from this game? Because I was fine with the way he played. His stats were kind of average. It looked like an NFL passing game, which sucks. The bar is so low right now because 250 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Right now is a good game for him, which that shouldn't be the case. It just seems like Garrett only runs this game plan when he has a team that's going to blitz the crap out of you and play man coverage, like this game and the Tampa game. Like this is the only time he ran like this type of aggressive game plan was against those 2 teams. So, obviously, as much as we're like happy with Jason Garrett today, big picture, it's like I'm not on the Jason Garrett train.
No.
But I thought Jones looked well today. Especially he didn't look injured, but he didn't like he had one run at the end, but it was basically him just literally him stumbling forward to avoid a sack.
Thought he manipulated the pocket pretty well. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
there were some
plus.
times where there was pressure and he would slide to his left and
That
got the pass
Dante,
off.
there was a Dante Pettis throw on the sideline where he manipulated the pocket. I think it was coming off the left side, maybe with Andrew Thomas, and stepped up, did what he had to do. So again, this is I wish I had more to say about Jones, but in a game where for the majority of the game it was not a competitive game, and I'm glad Jason Garrett kind of let him operate as an NFL quarterback. And you can look at Daniel Jones's stat line and say that, he had 252 passing yards and a passing touchdown. That's actually, if you look at least the raw numbers of the box score, which sometimes I don't like to do, you can at least take away from this game and say, he was allowed to be an NFL quarterback in 2020 today.
Yeah, which is what they should have been doing all year, but it wasn't. And they were down 17-0 with 6 minutes left heading into their third drive, and we gave the context of what happened to end each drive. They were down 17-0. I mean, we'll get to the defense because I get the Ravens are an awesome offense, but I thought there were some issues. Like this was probably the first game where I'm pretty frustrated with Graham. Like the Bears game, the third down 3-man rushes that frustrated me. This is probably the most frustrated I've been with Graham since then. Which is funny. We're praising Garrett and talking about how we didn't like Graham today, how the turntables. So, I mean, and they just I know some people are like, well, they should have ran the ball more. It's like, well, like you said, I mean, they were down big. They were down big. They only had 11 carries for 51 yards. When you're down like that, when the other you have to throw the ball. You don't have time on your side. And I get people saying, well, against Seattle, that's what they did. Well, it's like we scored enough points to beat Seattle today. Like if we put up the offense,
we weren't down by 17 points against Seattle.
No, and and I had people like, well, the Seattle game. They after one half and one drive, they had more points today than they did the Seattle game. So it's listen, the Ravens are a better team than the Giants. The Ravens are a better team than the Giants. I thought the offense was set up well. They didn't execute. It's on the players. Today, the game to me is totally on the players, whether it's a Mac drop, the offensive line screwing up, the running back screwing up and blocking, because there's a couple of plays I give Dion Lewis and Wayne Gallman credit for two of the 6 sacks. It's just frustrating that this is what this offense is, and we'll talk about that more big picture with Dave Gettleman. That this is the 31st ranked offense in the NFL, and it continues to be that way.
Yeah, and also, but again, the whole point about the Ravens are a very good football team. They've gone through a lot of adversity this year. You can argue that they're better than the 10-win football team that they are because their quarterback has missed 2 games, and their quarterback didn't necessarily have the best start to the season, but he has picked it up. And today, and just like his previous 2 games and today, he looked like the MVP Lamar Jackson. Just, they play their brand of football, which is aggressive on defense and running the ball on offense. And that is their identity. And it worked for them. They stick to their identity. Whereas the Giants, we like to think as Giants fans, and especially when our general manager comes out and says that we want to be about this, we want to be about running the ball, we want to be about getting to the quarterback. Well, there's a team in Baltimore that's dedicated to doing that, and they did it today. And good for them. They've had a couple years to get it right. They've had it right for a couple years, and the Giants are still trying to find their way. That's really the main difference in this game.
Yeah.
I kind of said it before the stream, Bobby, and obviously the conversation that's looming above our heads with just talking about this game is the fact that we're playing Dallas next week for the division. This game almost doesn't even matter. Like if we won or lost because of what happened with Dallas and Green Bay. Why did that come in my head? With Dallas and Philadelphia, they're both green. This game almost doesn't even matter. So at this point, I'm just like, okay, whatever, we lost. I know you want to talk about, there's a whole bunch of other things you want to talk about, but at least in my brain, it's like, okay, fine, we lost. We're on to Dallas.
How many throws do you think Daniel Jones has had in a row since he's last had an interception?
It's a good question.
What was the last game?
Was it Tampa?
It was.
So it's more, I would say more than 200.
No.
Okay, then I'm going to say,
You got to think. I mean, there's 2 games where he just didn't play. So
all right, so well, I can't in my brain. how many
162
passes.
passes.
I was going to say 183. That was a number that was on my brain. So I would have been close.
Yeah, 162 passes, man. So he's gotten better of taking care of the ball, since that. I mean, that Tampa game, I don't know. I don't like to get into dumb narratives, but do you think there might have been a moment in that Tampa, like after that Tampa game, which everyone was no one had ever been as low on Jones since that game, where there was like a moment with him that clicked, like, okay, I can't be doing this. Like, I can't be throwing these types of interceptions.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
There may have been, and in all, since that game, he's looked good. The Washington game after that game, I mean, he was good in that game, especially in the second half. He had 1 incompletion and it was a drop. The Eagles game, he was damn near perfect. The Bengals game, he was damn near perfect. And then the Arizona game, where he was noticeably hurt. Like today, he looked fine. Obviously he was probably, he's still hurt. But that Arizona game, he was not just banged up. He was hurt badly to the point where I don't like to criticize about those type of decisions, where I was like, I could not believe they put him back in the game for that second half.
Yeah.
So all in all, I know we'll talk about the QB for, until the draft. And I think most people realize we're probably not going to take one. I think the last 2 months have been pretty good for Jones. We haven't had the big, huge games like we had last year, but all in all, a lot of people's biggest issues were the turnovers. So now we need to figure out a way to get those big plays, to get the touchdowns, to get the points, mixed with the the fewer turnovers. You know,
I just, and again, I want to kind of come to the realization, if it is a valid argument, of if there's a pathway to move on from Jones, how does it make sense? But Bobby, in my brain, and what we look at, you're a big film guy, I'm a big numbers guy, and we come together and we talk 3 times a week about this team, and a lot of the things that we talk about, we agree on, especially with the importance of throwing the ball down the field and how it opens up other stuff underneath. Blah 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 blah. That's your film stuff. That's my numbers, and we come together and that we both agree on that. But if there is some sort of way for those who are anti-Jones, and for those who want to move on from him, want to take a quarterback in this year's draft, I cannot in my brain come to that conclusion. I can't, because I don't think it makes sense, because it comes back to that question that you posed a couple weeks ago, and this was during the peak of the Jones injury and it being, his season being in doubt. What have we learned about him? So we haven't learned anything. Have not learned anything. And the fact that he's decreased and he's cut those turnovers down dramatically from his rookie year, we haven't learned anything about him.
And the other side of that is there's some glaring holes on this team that need to be addressed in the first round. And I don't. So even if you don't think Jones is the guy, this to me is not the year to draft one. We're not going to have a top 5 pick most likely, which means you don't want to reach for a quarterback until there's some glaring holes we need to address on the team, which we'll talk about with the defense and when we talk about Dave Gettleman. I just want to go through the sacks. Matt Parrott, man, he has some stuff to work on. He has, but he's been, most of the time when he's left the game, you had a positive view of him. This game, not so much. So I'm not going to be mad at him. Zeitler was good. Andrew Thomas was good. I saw he got credit for a sack. He didn't give up a sack. Andrew Thomas looked really good in this game. Nick Gates was fine from the eye test. This Shane Lemieux, Will Hernandez thing doesn't make sense to me, and people are finally starting to come around. And this is why it was so frustrating to me. It's like, man, for a 5th round rookie, I'm happy with Shane Lemieux, but he's just not better than Will Hernandez. He has these plays every game. Now, the difference is a lot of these games he gets saved, where Jones either gets the ball out, Nick Gates will come and save him. But this game he didn't. He gave up, I would say, a sack and a half, because half of it I would say would credit to Matt Parrott on one of them. And there's plays where he got beat and the ball was gotten rid of and he was saved. He's not a good pass blocker right now. He's not. And, for a team playing for the playoffs, I don't get why Will Hernandez isn't playing. This is speculative, but it has to be from behind the scenes. It has to be. It has to be there is either this guy has an attitude. I don't know what the deal is, but him not playing over Shane Lemieux it just doesn't make any sense to me. If you want to keep the rotation, fine. But the fact that it's usually 75-25 in the favor of Lemieux playing next to a rookie left tackle, a first-year center, to me, it just I don't get it. I do not understand it, Justin.
I don't either. I do not either. Hernandez serves I feel like Hernandez serves a valuable purpose on the line just as a presence as well. You would think, he's one of the longest tenured. Is he besides Zeitler? Because both him and Zeitler are the longest tenured Giants on that offensive line.
Well, no, but Hernandez has an extra year on him.
2018. Oh, that's right. 2019. This was 2019 was Zeitler's first year. So Hernandez is the longest tenured Giant on the offensive line. So you would think that serves a value in the room, so to speak. So I don't know, Bobby. This is one that I do not know, and I'm sure they've been asking the coaching staff about it, and I'm sure they're going to get those questions this week. The coaching staff is because of the glaring, this was one of the first games where Lemieux was he was glaringly bad.
Yeah. Can we take a break before we go to defense? Are you cool with that? I know we haven't been doing that lately.
Let's take a break. It's good. It's always good to hear Tom Coughlin's voice.
All right. Let's take a break and we'll move to the defense. All right, let's talk about the defense, man. The Ravens are a deadly offense. They've been putting up points, man, but I thought this was kind of this is the worst game for the Giants defense for me, the entire season, just the way it looked. I mean, one, we're supposed to be a team that's able to stop the run. And we have been all year. One game doesn't tell the story. But this game, they ran the ball 40 times for 249 yards. They ran the ball 40 times over 6 yards per carry. I mean, just gashed them. And then when they were throwing the ball, they had all day. And this is where I was kind of frustrated with Patrick Graham, is that, man, you got to come after these QBs. Like Russell Wilson, not Russell Wilson, like Kyler Murray, these guys who are looking to run. Like Russell Wilson can run, but he's not looking to run. Kyler and Lamar are looking to run. You got to blitz these guys. You got to blitz them, man. And especially Lamar with his accuracy. We talked about going to the game. This is a game where you got to blitz and be aggressive a little bit. I'm not saying you got to go, play like Wink Martindale and the Ravens do, but on third downs, you should blitz and see if your guys can make a play in man coverage, or you force Lamar Jackson to make a play. And that's not what we did. They gave Lamar Jackson all day to throw. He probably had the most time to throw in the NFL. In fact, I'm going to look up that stat when you start talking. But on third down, they were 8 of 11. So it was frustrating all around because it seemed like nobody could do anything right.
I actually want to see if I can beat you to it. He did not have the most time to throw. He had the fourth highest time to throw in the National Football League.
What was it?
It was 3.12, which is very high. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks this weekend that had a time to throw over 3 seconds. That's a lot. That is a lot. Yeah, Bobby, I think this, not to totally jump the gun on your point, but if this game really points out the need for an edge rusher, not only in terms of getting to the quarterback, in terms of on passing downs, but a worry that I have had all year, and I am surprised that this didn't come out against the Browns, but a worry that I've had all year is a team that likes to stretch the field in terms of running the ball. You have Lamar Jackson going on these read options. Dobbins was doing a good job, overall, maybe not even running to the outside, like outside the tackles, but by the tackles and stretching the field that way. Asking this Giants defense that largely does rely on, now this is also a defense without Fackrell, without Lorenzo Carter, without O'Shane Ximines, but asking a Giants defense that is now largely requiring and asking 3 interior defensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen that are over 300 pounds to kind of stretch the field and go sideline to sideline and run and keep up and chase after these athletic. Lamar Jackson is an athletic freak. Dobbins is bursting onto the scene himself. Asking those guys to keep up with those guys, it's a losing battle. And when you only have Blake Martinez to go sideline to sideline and Tay Crowder has been, took some bad angles today. And you're also asking at times Logan Ryan to play in the box where, these guys just aren't linebackers. They're not big enough, strong enough to play linebacker. I would love to see, you would love to see Jabril Peppers more in that situation. So it's a losing formula. It's a losing formula.
Yeah.
And it starts up front.
Yeah. And I mean, they were playing, I'm interested to see, I would love to see what the percentage was, but it seemed like they were playing Tay Crowder and David Mayo next to Blake Moore. Like they were playing like a traditional, like 4-3 defense with, the 3 defensive linemen. But actually, it was a 3-3-5 is what they were playing all game, 3-3-5. But they just weren't playing their edge. Like you remember Carter Coughlin being on the field? I remember Cam Brown on for some snaps. I don't remember Carter Coughlin being on the field at all.
Cam Brown actually I feel like Cam Brown made some nice plays. I wanted to clip this, but I missed it. There was one play where, and this is credit to Dobbins. Dobbins actually had to come off the field for this. I think it was in the second quarter. Cam Brown had an amazing hit on Dobbins, but then didn't wrap him up. It was just a hit, and Dobbins kept his feet churning and kept going. So
Gus Edwards was like doing Marshawn Lynch type of runs. I mean, he was just putting the team on his back though. Isaac Yeadham, he can't tackle. He just can't tackle. He can't tackle a running back one-on-one. Yeah, that was brutal. And then Tay Crowder played bad today. And I think it was honestly more on coaching though, because you could tell Tay Crowder, who usually plays pretty aggressive in coverage, where he looks to cover a man and not just grass. His eyes were lasered in on Lamar Jackson in the backfield. And so guys were just running into open zones behind him, where usually even times with like Tay Crowder will make a mistake, but it won't be for lack of trying to cover somebody. His eyes were just locked in on Lamar Jackson. And that is why I said we need to blitz this team, is because we're not going to have the pass rush to get there. And when you give Lamar that time, he's going to find the open stuff underneath. And, so you have a decision. Like, are you going to really cover these guys, or are you going to leave a wide open running lane for Lamar Jackson? And it was just bad all around. And it kind of exposed a little bit of this defense.
Am I crazy in thinking that I would rather have Lamar Jackson, if he wants to tuck it and run on the read option? I would rather have Lamar Jackson, whenever he decides that he wants to tuck it and run it on those read options, get 7-10 yards, get a solid gain, versus if the running back is going to get the ball, I want to prioritize tackling that running back so he does not get a 4 or 5+ yard gain. And that is where I feel like the Giants really went awry today. Maybe you're right, being too concerned about Lamar Jackson and not worrying enough about stopping what 75% of the Ravens rushing offense actually is, and that is when they hand it to the running backs.
Yeah, I feel like.
And then if it becomes a problem, then it's like, okay, we adjust Lamar Jackson. You're keeping the ball here. You've gashed us a couple times with your 7-10+ yard gains. Because Bobby, here's the thing. Lamar Jackson is going to be Lamar Jackson. He's going to do what he's going to do anyway. But if you can stop the running backs, and if you can at least cut off that facet of the game, the rushing offense becomes a lot more one-dimensional.
Yeah, it's just
they're good.
But like, listen to what your solution is. Let another player do really good stuff. Like that's
no. I'm saying prioritize. No, prioritize.
I know what you're saying.
The running back. So then if we're saying that this is a coaching thing where Tay Crowder, like let's say, Tay Crowder took some bad angles today. He even took some bad angles in the run game. So if they're making Tay Crowder's priority spying Lamar Jackson because he is the guy that actually does have the athleticism. You can argue that maybe behind Jabril Peppers, Tay Crowder is the second best athlete on this defense in terms of, combination of speed and strength. So if that's his job to spy Lamar Jackson, no matter what he's doing, just say to Tay Crowder, no, screw that. We'll have the backside edge rusher or whoever the backside defensive end is. That'll be his job. You just play your regular game.
Yeah,
an idea.
It would have been better than what we saw today. That's for damn sure. I mean, they gashed us in the run game. I mean, 250 yards rushing. Against a team that's built to stop the run, and be able to play like that zone over the middle, and it was a very bad game against a very good offense. But I feel like this defense should be able to step up to the plate against these type of offenses. And I get this is probably like the, micro, like macros, like we still feel good about this defense, But like you said, I mean, there's a glaring need for someone to rush the passer on the edge. The defense, like, it's nice that Leonard Williams has 8.5 sacks. It's nice that Dex has some pass rush ability. But we need someone who can get there on the edge on third down when you know that, hey, our coverage is going to be good for 2.5, 3 seconds, Like Seattle, like we were able to do against Seattle, but Seattle's O-line sucks. Like their offensive line is horrible, especially like on the interior. So,
and I think that Seattle game set a precedent for quarterbacks. Now, Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray are also different kinds of quarterbacks than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is always looking for the explosive play. And I 100% agree with that. Like that is the way to go in the NFL. Explosive plays, how much I love it. But I think that game set a precedent of smart offensive teams are looking at that game that the Giants had. And it's like, listen, they're not going to allow explosive plays. The Giants aren't. Giants are the best team in the national. Last time I checked, which was a couple weeks ago, Giants are the best team in the National Football League in not allowing explosive pass plays. They're number one. They were number 32 when they were last year. So then what are offensive teams telling their quarterbacks? You're not going to get the deep play against the Giants, but things are going to be open underneath. And that's exactly kind of what happened last week with Kyler Murray. Just not dinking and dunking, but still throwing the ball kind of past the sticks, near the sticks, and they're getting yards after the catch since the Giants are playing a little soft. So, Bobby, I think this kind of brings us back to a point where you talked about last year, where, and this is what James Betcher, you would rather see the Giants fail trying to be aggressive rather than fail being conservative and just allowing things to happen in front of them.
Yeah. The difference, though, is that we've seen this be successful all year. Like, even that Arizona game, it's not like the Arizona's offense went off and like they had great field position. Last week against Cleveland, you're missing some good players and you still, held them to 20 points. This was the first game where it's like this was a bad defensive game. Like this was just flat out bad. So that's why it's not like I get what they're doing. Like they're trusting what got them here. But I feel like at some point you had to adjust and be like, hey, we got to start going after them. Even though it wasn't, the Ravens weren't as successful in the second half, but they still were pretty successful.
Yeah. Stinks. I was not expecting this when I opened up the game book. Now I have a theory as to why. McKinney had 8 total tackles today, but also if you're playing free safety and if you're playing back a lot of the time and running plays are getting to the secondary level, it's your job to come up and make a play. But a lot of people have been asking about McKinney, including our friend Sean Sullivan in the Patreon chat. So there you go. That's something on Xavier McKinney. But until he's playing in the box consistently, I'm not really going to evaluate McKinney because that's not his strength, playing back there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll go watch all 22 and it'll look really, really good. We'll see. All right. Did you have anything else on just in this game takes before we can talk to some big picture stuff?
Isaac Yiadom had a Deion Sanders game tackling wise.
That's true. Tony Romo said that. So big picture wise, the thing that's on everybody's mind, Justin, for next season, is Dante Pettis the guy?
Is he this year's Corey Coleman? I don't think he did enough to have the Corey Coleman hype of a 20+ yard play on the sideline. I don't think he did enough. I'm sorry.
I think he did do enough. I'm on the Dante Pettis train. He is our next Corey Coleman. I can't wait to see what he looks like in preseason next year. He is our next middling wide receiver love child for this New York Giants team.
The fact that he wore number 13
we're going to talk about his first year stats, his combine times. We are going to have an off season. He's going to get his own PPP. Dante Pettis season, it starts now.
I don't think he's going to get his own PPP. I think he may share that with maybe some other people. The fact that he wore number 13 is kind of a flex, right?
I know. Cocky, confident. I like it.
Reggie White, all-time Giant great.
Yep.
Remembering him.
Yep, Reggie White. We got Ramses Barden. Who wore 13 before that? Lorenzen was 12, right? Or did Lorenzen wear 13?
Let me look this up really quick. We're bad Giants fans because now you have me thinking. Now you have me thinking.
So you could do it.
13.
Damn it. Gosh, he was so big. Rest in peace.
No, he wore both actually. So this is why we got confused, because he wore both 12 and 13 for the Giants.
Number 12, Ryan Nassib. And then he changed to number 9.
All-time great. Another all-time great.
Isn't it crazy that like we drafted this guy, like might be the successor for Eli, and then we go through like his entire contract, and it's like Eli was still around. Danny Cannell was one. Danny Behan brought him up. So the famous number 13. All right, let's talk about Dave Gettleman though. Seriously. Yeah. We'll probably spend Wednesday and Friday talking about him a lot more. I just want to ask you, what is your % chance on him coming back or leaving?
If the Giants, I think right now it's as simple as this. I have to think a little bit more about if the Giants win. But if the Giants lose week 17 against the Dallas Cowboys at home with their backup quarterback, when the NFC East is on the line, if the Giants lose week 17, Dave Gettleman is done. Done.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Well, so if that happens, what's your % chance? Let's just assume the worst happens and not
if the Giants lose.
Yes.
If the Giants lose, there's a 95% chance of Dave Gettleman not coming back. John Mara will take that personally.
I still think he's coming back.
You're nuts. I will officially announce, by the way.
I'm kind of. I really do go back and forth with this, man. Here's where like the part of me that says like, hey, they decided to bring him back. He killed 2020 with Joe Judge. Give them together another year. Here's the part of me that wants him fired. We have the 31st ranked offense. We don't win games.
Correct.
We over 3 years where you could talk about, like, okay, like even if like you talk, a lot of people that are like all anti talk about 2018. Well, even 2018, he invested in the offense. Okay. He drafted an amazing player, Saquon, second overall. And I get he's injured this year, but nonetheless, Will Hernandez, second round. Signing Nate Solder in free agency. So we have the 31st ranked offense 3 years in, and you say, well, Jason Garrett. It's like, okay, well, then we need a GM who, when the owner says we want to hire Jason Garrett, says no. Just says flat out no.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with Gettleman. I am leaning, I don't want him back. And I really do go back and forth on this, man. I don't want him back because it's like this offense is the 31st ranked offense in the NFL 3 years into his tenure. We don't win games 3 years into his tenure. The part of me that says bring him back is since he has been working with Joe Judge has been good. So I don't know, but I at this moment I lean you don't bring him back, but I lean the Giants. I will say 59% chance that the Giants do bring him back. We would hear some Gettleman's probably gone rumors from Glazer, Schefter, Rappaport at this point. And we heard him last year at this point. It's why I thought Gettleman was going to be fired at this point last year. This year, we haven't heard him from anyone besides some random dude with 29,000 followers who has like the worst track record of being right with the Giants of all time.
Yeah, and the Giants are an organization that likes to leak things. Maybe that's changed with Joe Judge. Maybe that's also changed with Joe Judge. Maybe the Giants draft pick this year is not going to leak 24 hours before the draft. That would be kind of nice to have some sort of secrecy and surprise. So Andrew Thomas was not leaked this year, by the way. Hey, Tristan Wirfs was the name that was being thrown around. But anyway,
I got told like an hour and a half before.
Oh, that's true. You did get told. I'm talking about by like a big head, like a Glazer or Schefter.
My guy was like some random person who's like, hey, my friend texts me the pick an hour before the draft every year.
Yeah.
It's Andrew Thomas. I didn't believe it and I wouldn't report it anyways, but I did get told. So now I feel, this is me to like, I didn't know, but I actually knew kind of thing, which I actually hate. So I hate myself right now.
Well, you need the whole thing with the journalism is we've been told you need 2 sources. You had 1 source, Bobby. So, what am I? All right. So here's where I'm at personally, and I announced this today officially, and I officially got to this point this week. I'm done with Gettleman. I'm done. Like there is no even doubt in my mind. There's no doubt here. There's no doubt there. You do have to play the results, and
agree.
2018, and I'm not even talking about the results of winning and losing games, but 2018, well, let me say this. Dave Gettleman's batting average is playing the results. That is what John Maris said. And his batting average needs to go up. His batting average did go up, but it's the fact that 2018 was such a bad start that his batting average is still below 200, if you want to use baseball terms here. So,
yeah,
not having a single free agent that's making an impact. And let's take the draft out of it, Bobby, because Saquon, it's a bad situation. Now, in my opinion, you draft a running back in the first round and you're relying on a running back so much, that's malfeasance on your part because these running backs, they're going to get hurt. That's malfeasance on your part. But we will remove that from the equation because torn ACLs suck. Second round pick, Will Hernandez. Play the results. He is on the bench right now.
Yeah, the coaches don't want to play him.
He shouldn't be.
Even if he's better.
He shouldn't be. But Joe Judge and this coaching staff does not view Will Hernandez as a starting player. That's a bad look.
Yep.
Lorenzo Carter. That is definitely an exception because this was a guy that, Dave Gettleman likes to talk about, it used to be the 2-year breakout player. Now it's the 3rd year. Well, Lorenzo Carter was having that breakout year. So that is the exception. And BJ Hill is a 4th round defensive tackle, defensive end on this team.
3rd round, but they went and got guys to play above him to where he can't play besides, 20%. So
correct. But I'm talking about we're still playing the results. And then even look at the free agent class, Bobby. If we had one free agent, if we had a single free agent who is contributing to this team right now from 2018, I think that would make a difference. Hot take. If we had a good player that was still on the team from 2018, who was maybe on the last year of a 3-year deal, that would be good for this football team. And there's not a single one. And I hate to say it, Nate Solder not playing this year has helped the Giants more than it has hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Alec Ogletree probably his worst move. Patrick O'Malley, they cut him the first year. Jonathan Stewart, obviously,
1-year deal.
People point at that one. That to me is a nothing deal.
1-year deal.
And then Nate Solder, and this is what happens with Nate Solder. A lot of people, including myself, agreed with the Nate Solder signing at the time. Well, you're like, oh, well, you're playing hindsight. That's what this is. Okay, we look back and we say, did he make a good move? No, he did not. So I understand that you were on board with it at the time, but looking back with hindsight, he was horrible.
Yeah,
a horrible football player at left tackle. Because we had the draft. So we drafted a left tackle this year, not because Nate Solder was average. We drafted one because he was horrible. So I agreed with the move at the time too, even though I knew he wasn't. I don't think anyone was talking about how good Nate Solder was, but it's like you need the upgrade there. But he really wasn't an upgrade. He got better as 2018 went along because Eli got the ball out quick. So, and with the QB who dared to hang in the pocket a little bit, he was brutally bad. Literally, like you can point to games and like if you have better left tackle play, we probably win 2-3 more games.
Yep.
Chicago, Detroit,
2019, yeah,
the Jets. Like there's games where if Nate Solder is better, there's 3 games right there. I just point off my head where if you have a good left tackle, if you have like Andrew Thomas's best games, we may win 3 more games.
Yep, I agree.
And like think about the Jets. They didn't have a good pass rusher besides Jordan Jenkins.
They had Jamal Adams was their best pass rusher.
Yeah, Trey Flowers is good for Detroit, but we've seen Andrew Thomas shut down better, much better players than him. And then Chicago, Khalil Mack is really good, so I'll give him a pass on that. But anyways, back on point. I agree. I think he should be fired, but I don't think he's going to be.
I would not mind now. The difference between fired and moving to an advisory role, I think we're considering that as the same thing. It's like Tom Coughlin-esque of not being fired but being asked to leave. If he moves to an advisory role where he is still working in the draft,
fired to me.
I would welcome that though.
If they go outside the building though, doing that to keep promote Kevin Abrams makes no sense.
I'm prepping for that, by the way.
That makes no sense. They can't do that, man. They can't do that. That makes no sense. Because why not? If you want to do that, just keep Dave Gettleman for another year. And guess what? No one's picking up Kevin Abrams. I promise you, Kevin Abrams isn't on anybody's GM list.
He's on that list.
What would be the point?
He's on that
It'd be
list.
Tom Coughlin all over again. You're just moving everybody. It's like, oh, this isn't working. You know what we should do? Move everybody up one in the organization. They just can't do it, man. If they want to move Gettleman to an advisory role and then go outside the building, cool. But to promote Kevin Abrams, they just can't, man. I refuse to believe that they will do that.
Yeah. Would you even view Cesario as a, because this is, well, it's coming from
Yes,
the
that
rumor.
would be, people may not like it, but that is going outside the building to me.
Yeah. Okay. I don't, yeah, I guess it would be, but that's ultimately, it's a judge hire. That's a judge general manager hire. That's not, and this is me just playing devil's advocate here, because I don't know what I want, because I'm focused on week 17. But hiring Cesario is a judge move where technically it's still a comfortable move where you don't know if you would be hiring the best person for the job.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of GM takes for guys that don't like even Ed. Like, I would love Ed. Like, I would get excited about Ed Dodds from Indy. I don't know if he's a good GM. I just know he works for a good GM. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to judge unless it's a retread, like, Gettleman or Jerry Reese, who's who's a hot commodity right now. It's hard to judge. So, it's one of those things where we'll do way more research than anybody else, but it is like
but when we win, how about
we
talk about this? But when we win week 17 and we make the playoffs,
do you think that changes it? Do you think winning, and let's just say we win and we miss the playoffs. Let's say Washington wins, we win. Do you think that changes it at all? Because I don't think that changes it at all.
That is a scenario, I guess. No, I would still be on the 95. How about this? Instead of a 95%, if we lose, if we win, it's 90%. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's you're basically saying he's gone. Yeah, I don't know what happens, man. It's gonna be interesting. I think he's staying. I do. And honestly, like you said, I want him fired, but I just keep coming back to, they decided to bring him back since I know I said this take a million times, since they've decided to bring him back, he knocked it out of the park. Like, well, Joe Judge is involved. Like, okay, that means that means they work together well. So I don't know.
If they bring back Gettleman, by the way, they're going to have to scapegoat Garrett. Like, that will
you have to fire Garrett regardless. You have to fire Garrett regardless.
But they're going to have to scapegoat the hell out of it.
What do you mean?
They will have to scapegoat in terms of, how can John Mara get in front of a microphone after a 5-win season? Let's say hypothetically we're not going to lose against Dallas, but let's say we hypothetically lose against Dallas. John Mara gets in front of a microphone, 5-win season, where most of the wins are coming against backup quarterbacks again, right? Where Carson Wentz is a backup quarterback at this point. Kyle Allen, do we have a win against Kyle Allen? Kyle Allen's backup quarterback. What other wins do we have?
But I get
what other wins do we have this year?
Bengals. Yeah, the Bengals. We get your point. Just okay. Get to your point.
Get to my point. We get it. Where the majority of our 5-win season came against backup quarterbacks, and Giants are one of the worst teams in the NFL since Dave Gettleman took over. That now we are, after his third year in his tenure. If he's just going to stand up there and say, I feel good about the direction of the team, without scapegoating Jason Garrett and without firing Jason Garrett, how are you going to feed that Kool-Aid to fans? Fans are going to lose their minds if you just say, oh, we're just going to stay the course, do what we're doing as we're doing right now.
They're going to have to fire Jason Garrett either way. But I've been telling people, this is all I have to say. Did I say if they improve his batting average? Say his batting average was at 150. Now we're really getting into these meaningless. It was like, okay, he's at 150. Since then, he's hit 3 singles, 4 doubles, and 2 home runs. Now his batting average is still at 260, which I guess is formidable in today's baseball. It's all about OBP and WAR and all that stuff. But essentially, it's still not the best batting average, but it was significantly increased. But they have to fire Jason Garrett. There's no way that, I don't care who you bring back. I would not. Here's where I am. And they bring back Dave Gettleman, it doesn't ruin the offseason for me. They bring back Jason Garrett and it ruins the offseason for me. It ruins any type of hope I have for next year if they bring back Jason Garrett.
I would agree with that. I would.
Bringing back Dave Gettleman does not ruin any hope. Does not ruin hope for me. So
No, I would I would agree with that. I would.
did you see Ed Valentine snapping at people today for Big Blue View?
He was on fire.
He was
I
mad.
respected it. I
I've
respected
never
it.
seen Ed that mad before.
You got some cojones to be firing off with people. So as a no listen what I'm about to say. You got some cojones to be firing at people without a face behind your profile picture. For you to be like a big time account. Now, if you're a fan, if you're just a casual fan, you don't want your face online, perfectly fine. But if you're a big time account and a verified account, and without your face being there to fire crap off like that, boy.
But they all know Ed. Like Ed like it's the Big Blue View account. Ed has his like they all know it's Ed. Like it's not like everyone knows. I mean, it literally says tweets by Ed Valentine. So it's not like he's hiding behind it. Like everyone knows that's like Ed Valentine.
All right.
He's usually pretty quiet. Like you don't see Ed Valentine firing off hot takes,
Maybe he had a little too much to drink. I mean, they're home. They're all doing the games from home. They're doing the press conferences from home. Beat reporters don't even need to leave their house now, so they just need to hop on Zoom, ask their two questions.
I don't want to accuse Ed Valentine of being drunk. Like he's one of the, like I actually like Ed for the most part.
No, I wasn't accusing. I just said, maybe a little leftover Christmas eggnog was sitting there. And it's just like, Giants are bad. I really hate my job right now because this team sucks. And let's just fire off a Giant insider a little bit.
That thought had been in his head for weeks then. Or
good. No,
maybe years.
Yeah.
Maybe years that thought has been in his head.
Good. Because there's not a lot of us that aren't blocked from those clowns, from those buffoons, some might call them, that don't get a chance to say anything back to them.
He went at Rosenblatt because Rosenblatt's like, Pettis still not returning kicks. And he's like, for the 800th time, Dante Pettis has never returned kicks in the NFL. In fact, he has one time. He has one time and he fumbled.
He did.
He fumbled, which is funny. Which, if I was like a Dion Lewis kick return supporter, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, Dion Lewis fumbled on 2 kick returns. Dante Pettis fumbles on 100% of his kick returns."
You would just show that clip over and over again.
Yeah, I would just keep on tweeting that. But it's like I'm not a Dion Lewis supporter. I actually would like to see Dante Pettis back there, even though he hasn't been kick returning in the NFL.
No, but he's too important a wide receiver for you to be putting him back there returning kicks, though.
That's true. We don't want to lose him.
No.
Or that's just all the more reason to keep him around, like Corey Coleman. He also has return ability.
Ooh. Little wild card.
Like, this sounds like I'm making fun of people, but I was all in on the Corey Coleman train. Like 2019, I was expecting him to be wide receiver number 2. I was expecting it to be Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, and then Corey Coleman. It's like it was like, is it going to be Corey Coleman or Cody Latimer? Now, Slayton, he got hurt. Slayton overtook Latimer, and Latimer was on the bench. But I mean, he was my wide receiver too. Like I think he may have even been like the first week of PPPs. I don't even know.
I was also all in on Ed Valentine just calling people out today. I was all in on that. So we were both all in for 2 different reasons today.
Oh man.
Don't like when it happens to my friend Zach though.
Yeah. I mean,
but he was just a casualty in the train that was Ed Valentine. No one was stopping that train today.
I hope Ed listens to this. If you're like friendly with Ed, be like, just tell him like the Talking Giants guys were talking about you, man. It was pretty funny.
I love it.
I hope he listens to this. Like you sent me that. I was like, oh my gosh, he's going at people's heads. Oh man, that was bad.
And then, or here's also the thing, like Chris and Jerry at Giant Insider, friends of the program, they multiple times, I don't know who, I can imagine whoever's the more Italian one. Who's the more New York guy?
Probably Chris. Parentheses Chris.
Or dash Chris, parentheses Chris. So there was somebody who was replying to people saying, I'm going to take care of it. Like very mafia like, whoa, like, what are you going to do to him? Like, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of the situation. I'm going to deliver a message. That's the vibes. That's the vibe. Fight? I don't know but they may. All right. So I will read you, or not read you, but I will revisit the original.
He said, like, we'll take care of this when I see you.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said. Oh, I DM'd it to you. Whatever. So I'm going to take care of this. When I see you, I'm going to take care of this. When I see him, and he was telling that to other people too. Very mafia. Oh yeah, yeah, very mafia like.
Don't hurt us, man. People get mad at me like, why do you make fun of them? I just want to remind you, they went after us first. People forget that because it's been so long. But anyways, I've been traveling on this road so long. Old me's dead and gone.
We're bad people. I mean, at least I'm a bad. Bobby's a very forgiving person. I'm not. I hold grudges.
I could be friends with them tomorrow if they were willing.
I would not be friends with them tomorrow.
Nah,
maybe 2 days.
Get you around. I've gotten you around on people before.
You have. Maybe 2 days from now. Not
All
tomorrow.
right.
Let's end the show.
We
have a game to win. We have a game to win on Sunday.
We have a game to win. I hope my team beats you in fantasy football, because if that means if we beat you, me and my brother, that means we're going to the Cheez-It Bowl for free, which will be fun. And you're a loser.
Sucks.
You had Alvin Kamara and you're going to lose. You're a loser.
That's tough. 60-point day.
All right, let's here's one thing. Say something like disgusting. I want to get on people's nerves.
Whoa.
Talk about like you farting or something.
You can't just put me on the spot.
Did you fart today?
No, I did not fart today. I'm not.
If you did, what would it sound like?
I have very. All right, so we'll talk about my fart noises. There's a couple of my friends who have very like nasty, like they need to see a doctor farts. And mine, whenever I try to like do it around them so we can like compare, can't it doesn't have the same stench, doesn't have the same like they're girly farts. However, I know some girls who can really fart too. So
yeah, don't be sexist, dude. Don't be sexist.
I know.
All right, that's a show.
Why did you need to hear that, by the way?
Because people get so mad that now I'm just embracing it. Like
people get mad at me. Yeah, people get mad at me for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
People don't like me.
It's people don't like, and this is with Danny too. Like people just don't like young people being smarter than them. That's brutal, but they don't like it. Or people that didn't like, and it's so dumb because it's like, yeah, did I play a little football? Yeah, but I didn't play at some high level, and I suck. Like I was a screw up, but it's like, yeah, but, and then you was like, you didn't play high school football like me. Like you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, dude, you don't know what to play in high school football. You learn about one position, okay?
I have my National Honor Society for sociology, criminal justice behind me every show.
Screw people, okay? Screw them. That makes me want to not defend you though, because it's like, what is that? It's just a piece of paper. It's literally a piece of paper.
It literally is just it's framed too. It's a piece of paper that's framed.
So now I'm back on the other people's side. All right, let's end the show. Let's end the show. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking around. I mean, if you're listening to this episode, you are in. And if you're listening to this part of the episode, you are all in. So we appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Wednesday for Mailbag. Until then, let's go Big Blue.